Hi, this is Richard Blade, and you're listening to the Blue Zone Podcast Network as it presents Permanent Record, an in-depth look at the classic albums of the 70s and 80s, albums which have earned a permanent place of honor, both in our hearts and in our record collections.
All right, Sarah, so we have been hyping something up for the past month or so here on the podcast and giving little hints that we did something awesome that we were really looking forward to, but we couldn't give you any details. But it turns out the time is now. We are able to talk about it.
Finally, the secret can be revealed.
That's right. Our musical brothers in arms have released the information on Twitter. It shocked the world as the first U.S. guests are appearing on one of the best music podcasts on the internet, the Giddy Carousel of Pop. We are here with the host of the Giddy Carousel, the guys who have the job. They push the button. One of them pushes the button to start it, and the other guy takes a broom over and cleans everything up afterwards. I'm not going to say which one of you is the janitor and which one is the controller. You can decide amongst yourselves. But we are here with Simon and Gavin from the Giddy Carousel of Pop, and we are happy to welcome you guys to our show. How are you doing today?
I'm feeling emotional after that introduction.
Oh,
yeah, that was poetic, Brian. Thank you for that. Lovely to be here. Thank you for having us.
Sure thing. That was from the heart, guys.
Oh, bless you.
I felt it. That's why I'm emotional. Yeah.
I think we all know who the janitor is in the relationship, don't we, Simon?
Well, we each think that the other one's the janitor. So.
Yeah.
Well, you guys can take that off.
Oh, wait, you think it's me? I thought it was you.
Uh-oh. Now we've started something.
Yep, we may not. They may break up before this episode gets released.
I'm ending it here. I'm quitting the carousel.
No, he's jumping off.
Yeah. The carousel is winding down. The music is sounding all warped and then the next episode never is released.
We broke it.
We were so close to hitting the big time, Sarah.
No.
So they announced on their Twitter feed on Friday that we are the next guest on an episode that's going to be out in a week or two.
Right.
And Sai, what did you say about the year that we chose to discuss on the episode? I forget what it was, but you said something. Was it complimentary about the year we picked?
It was absolutely not complimentary, no. And that's, no disrespect to you for choosing that or anything like that. No, I think it's the worst year of the 1980s for pop music. And it's an entirely subjective thing.
Leave it to the Americans to pick the worst year.
I've been looking forward to discussing that year. I mean, I think it's something that we needed to address, and I think we explore it a little bit along the way. In that it's probably more to do. My opinion on that is more to do where I was at in my life and things like that than it was to do with the actual pop music. But actually, a lot of the pop music did stink that year. In terms of the UK charts, anyway, it was that post Live Aid disappointment. I think it was.
The one thing I learned about it is that we were all living in Sig Sig Sputnik's world at that point in time.
That's right.
So that may be part of the problem as well.
Yeah, the problem with Sig Sig Sputnik was that they were very 1985, so they were already behind the times before they got to the times.
But wait,
I think Sig Sig Sputnik could have been part of the solution, but they just weren't given enough time, I think.
And yet they were from the future. This is so confusing.
They were from the future, yeah.
Oh man!
From the 21st century, we present.
From the 21st century, we present the fifth generation of rock and roll, starring Martin, Tony, Neil, Ray, Chris,
Yeah, before we go any further, let me just give you the information. Giddy Carousel of Pop, their website is at giddypoppod.home.blog. That's their main website where you can find all the episodes. And they're on all the good podcast providers. If you have one that you prefer, I'm sure it's there. And the phrase Giddy Pop Pod is the key to finding you guys on social media, isn't it? If I just remember the word Giddy Pop Pod, I can find you pretty much anywhere, right? Twitter, Facebook, Instagram.
It will unlock a whole new world for you if you type that magic phrase into your social media search engine.
So for folks who haven't listened yet, maybe some of our listeners who maybe don't know about you, if you're collecting every appearance of Brian and Sarah, you've also got to check out Giddy Carousel of Pop. Is it going to be episode 25?
Around about that, yeah.
Yeah, so I will kick off the questions. And the first question I have for you folks is, what would you say is your podcast mission statement?
Wow. Do we have one? I would,
Well,
it just kind of it's just something that kind of happened organically. But I guess the mission statement would be we're trying to look at pop music largely from the 80s. And I guess there's an element of nostalgia in there, but it's not completely nostalgic. It's kind of reflecting on where you were at the time and what you think about that now. And just exploring that world a little bit. And it's taking it from different perspectives as well. So we didn't want to just concentrate on just getting people who worked on the magazine to talk to them, and we didn't want to just concentrate on musicians. We wanted to get pop fans as well, because it's all part of that relationship. You can't have one without the other. So I guess there's those three elements that feed into it, and so it's exploring it from those angles, I guess, and without getting too rose-tinted spectacles about it. That's my take on it anyway.
No, I totally agree with that. I think Si's right. It's that kind of triangulation of views, if you like, and looking at that world from different angles, looking back, but also seeing how it reflects into current time. And also just trying to be kind of entertaining and have a bit of fun with it as well. Because the thing about Smash Hits, as you'll both know as well, is that it was a really fun magazine to read, and the language was very inventive, and it certainly impacted me a lot at that time. And when I look back at my diary, as we will hear in Giddy Carousel of Pop, Pervs Ahoy, and so on. It really influenced my language a lot, and I know Si was the same, and my wife Lynn, she kind of did the same. So it had an influence that was above and beyond just pop music. I think it really encouraged people to be kind of quite creative and silly and quite irreverent in the way they approach music. So we can't kind of put all that into a mission statement, but that's kind of a rather cloudy and woolly kind of outline of what we do.
So we do poke fun at some of the artists and things that are in there, but it's all within that kind of good-natured way that Smash Hits used to do it. Aren't pop stars ridiculous and brilliant at the same time? And I think that's, as Gavin says, it was influential then, but also the people who worked on the magazine went on to work on other magazines, Q, Mojo, and just throughout the British music press. So it's something that's kind of, it's a thread that's carried on through British music journalism up to this day, because a lot of those writers are still around, still writing, and also the kids that were reading Smash Hits in the 80s and 90s are now working for the newspapers as culture journalists and things like that. So it's still this thread that follows through in British pop culture, I think.
I agree completely with what you said about the language of the magazine being so important. It is witty and it's funny, it's irreverent. And one of the great things about your podcast is that each episode pretty much starts with a pre-written paragraph that is just like the craziest onslaught of words that as you get ready, is Gavin, you usually are the one who delivers it, and it's as the carousel is getting ready to start turning and the guest is going to pick what particular horse they're going to ride. You just have this introductory paragraph that is always crazy, and it was really cool to see you do it live. And also because when you listen to the finished product, it seems like you just burned through it without any issue. But when we were recording, we just kept laughing. Like it was just getting through it was so hard because it was so funny.
Focus on the word giddy for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed
those, Brian. Yeah, I think that just happened organically. I just did it for one of the episodes about halfway through the run, I think, and then we just kept doing it and then inventing new characters and just a bit of a flight of fancy.
Yeah, it creates a world that the podcast exists in. So yeah, we didn't start off doing that. It was just kind of used to be just kind of straight in, hello, podcast, blog, guest, there you go. But yeah, so we just gradually developed this world that the podcast exists in, and that works for us and works for us, and I hope that it works for listeners as well.
Works really well for me. Now, you mentioned getting some of the folks who worked on the magazine to guest on the show, which is an awesome treat because it is really interesting to hear just what goes into producing a magazine, and especially one that comes out every fortnight. And so I've always enjoyed when you got those guests on there. I guess the holy grail of guests, the most famous person to ever work on Smash Hits, I'm sure most people who listen to our podcast know, would be to get Mr. Neil Tennant on the show. What are the bookies in the UK saying? What are the odds that you ever get Neil Tennant on the show, do you think?
I'll say about 4-1 at the moment.
No, it's pretty good.
Hey, all right.
I don't understand odds. I don't have a mathematical brain. Well, let's just say we keep putting an appeal out. And,
Okay.
We do ask guests if they've got contact details for Neil at all, and we've got some posh biscuits and some nice Earl Grey tea waiting for him when he does come to take up his place on the carousel.
Okay.
It's waiting for him. That horse has always, it's his and his only. No one else can ride Neil Tennant's horse. So,
So true.
We're optimistic that it'll happen one day.
Yeah,
we shall see.
Long enough.
Yeah.
I think at the moment it probably can't happen because obviously they've got a greatest hits tour next year, and I think the insurance company wouldn't let him go on the carousel in case he goes too fast, and he centrifugal force throws him to the ground and he sprains an ankle. But I think maybe once the tour is over and he's got a bit of R&R time, then maybe.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
That's wonderful.
So speaking of those previous guests, maybe you could educate our listeners on some of the great folks that you've had on the show, and then I'll tell you the one guest who outraged me beyond belief.
Ooh.
Interesting.
Looking forward to hearing that.
Well, Gav, would you like to go first on that?
Sure. Well, I mean, I guess in terms of if you're thinking about people that listeners may have heard of or may be aware of, then one of our early guests was David Hepworth, who was a long-time editor of the magazine and went on to appear on Live Aid. You know, he's one of the main presenters on Live Aid in the UK, and
Immortalised in the Bohemian Rhapsody film.
exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
there's
wow.
A character playing David in Bohemian Rhapsody. So it was really good to get him quite early on. And we also had Barry McElhaney, who was another editor of Smash Hits. Who else we had on that worked on the magazine?
We had Hannah Verdier, who worked on the magazine sort of later on in its life, but we spoke to her about her perspective of it as a reader. So she picked an issue from when she was a kid, and when she used to write into Smash It saying, "Please give me a job," and that was when when she was still at school, and she ended up going to work there. So it was really interesting to get both sides of that from a fan's point of view, but also from the point of view from some new work there. I mean, she worked there in the late 90s, early 2000s, so it's an era that we'll probably never cover because we don't understand that era of music. It's our age, we feel comfortable up to about, probably about 1985, to be honest. No, but up to the late 80s, early 90s, then after that, it's like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, for me, a real highlight was doing and I keep banging on about it, the Live Aid episode, which was a real labour of love for me. Being long time obsessed with the event. At the time, I didn't question it was brilliant and all that sort of thing. So I've got a different relationship with Live Aid as an event and as a cause now. But I still remember that day and how special that day was and how life-changing it was for me in a way. That was my big introduction to live music. And I became obsessed with live music after that on the radio and on the TV, and always recording things. I always wanted to record things.
Right.
So spoke to lots of people, like David Hepworth and Mark Ellen, who were both presenters, both worked on Smash Hits, but also were both presenters of the TV coverage on the day. We spoke to somebody who worked on the show on the BBC TV crew, and we got lots of listeners to send in their memories of the day. So that was really, really good to work on that, and really, really special. I think also Laura Kelly, who works for a British magazine called The Big Issue. She grew up in Northern Ireland, and the magazine was hugely important for her in establishing like an identity as a music fan, growing up in a small town where there weren't many people that she could identify with, and particularly as she was a Manic Street Preachers fan, and so that was giving her a whole other different worldview as well. I was really moved during that episode, and just hearing Laura talk about it and how important it was for her. I'm getting chills just talking about it now.
Oh, that's awesome.
I just found that really, really emotional. Talking to her about it. Yeah.
I think it's a theme that crops up quite often when we're talking to the pop kids, the young fans, is that Smash It's really meant an awful lot to them, particularly in those towns, where they maybe weren't in a big town, big city like London or Birmingham, but they were kind of more out in the suburbs or, small places, and it was hard sometimes to find other people that were as passionate about music. And it really gave them a sense of belonging to a big tribe almost, or, they had their kind of little gang, because Smash It's partly because of the language and the humour of it and the tone of it, and it really created that kind of club feel.
even though it was a massive magazine and was very popular, but it still spoke to those people in the lonely towns that needed some kind of validation and affirmation of who they were. And so it really fulfilled an important role in that, I think. I mean, a personal highlight for me as well, we've already mentioned Mark Ellen briefly, but the very first issue that I bought as a kid, I was a huge Adam and the Ants fan, and there was an issue with Adam Ant on the front cover, and Marco Peroni was in the personal file and is obviously interviewed as part of Mark's piece. Mark went over to France to see them, just turned up on spec. They didn't know he was coming because he thought that they would say no, so he just found out where they were and went. And so that was a real thrill for me because, like I said, I pored over that issue for months and months and months as a kid. So we got to talk to Mark about that, and we also went to meet Marco as well because he lives not too far away from where Si and I are in north of England. And we went round to his house and talked to him about smash hits and that issue in particular, but kind of lots of stuff about pop music and his memories of that time. So if 11-year-old Gavin had known that was going to happen, I mean, that would have absolutely blown my mind,
Right. That's so cool.
Long may the carousel continue, but if it stopped tomorrow, I've always got that.
Right.
That was such a cool thing personally for me. So, yeah.
Oh, that's great.
You named all contributors to the magazine and really cool guests, but I think your previous episode to now, the one that had just come out about a month ago, that was a really big guest for you guys as well. That was an artist who featured on several number one hits in the UK, right?
Absolutely, yeah. We had
Helen O'Hara, who was the violinist with Dexys Midnight Runners. I know they had some success in the States, but they're kind of a one-hit wonder, weren't they, in the States, right?
Yeah, more or less.
In the UK, they were. They've just had a reissue of Tu Raye. It's the 40th anniversary.
Oh, right.
Yep.
Kind of remastering like a 3 CD.
Not remastering, remixing.
Remixing. Yes,
two Raye as it should have been.
That's right.
Yeah, they've gone back to the master tapes and just brought out a lot of the elements that, for whatever reason, got lost back in the day. So it's a much fuller sound, and sometimes you get these albums that have been remixed and it's like, ooh, what have they done there? But I think with Tu Raye, they've been faithful to the original and just brought out more of it, more of the depth of the sound and things, which is really good to hear. But yeah, Helen was brilliant, and we had such a good giggle, I think, recording it. She's got so many amazing stories, from before her time with Dexys and since. We barely scratched the surface, which is why I think it's probably if you enjoyed that episode, then go and check out her book.
Oh, yes, good idea. And she's, of course, part of the reason why we are recording this special episode, Sarah, to promote our appearance, because we are following her up.
Right.
And I told Gavin and Simon that they are going to see the biggest discrepancy in download numbers that they've ever seen in the history of a podcast.
Right.
Because they're going from Dexys Midnight Runners to Brian and Sarah, and that's just terrible.
We should have thought much more carefully about the order of guests, shouldn't we, Simon? I don't know what we were thinking. What were we thinking?
I would say all riders on the carousel are equal.
Absolutely. Oh, you're so kind.
That's a very lovely answer.
So full of shit. I'm joking.
Brian's going to have to. You're going to have to put an explicit thing on
beep it out.
Episode.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll beep it out.
I love the stories you're telling about talking with the fans and the pop kids and how much the magazine, not only the magazine, but the music meant to them. That's so true. When you're a music fan or when you're a pop fan, it's so great to find a community of people that think the same way as you. And reading this magazine, you kind of think, oh, there's other people out here like me. So obviously it's had a big impact on a lot of people. What would you say, how did Smash Hits magazine shape your musical interests, and how does it still impact you today?
What I was saying before about the irreverence in which you kind of think about pop music. So I think it stopped me from becoming too much of a music snob at an early age and being too tribal. I mean, I'm always a bit of a kind of an indie kid, and alternative kind of music is like my favourite, but I like a lot of stuff. I'm not just all about one particular genre, and I think Smash Hits played a big part in that. And so you could always see the value, even if there were things you didn't like, you'd still read about them because you wanted to get your money's worth out of the magazine. And sometimes you could read something and go, oh, actually, that sounds really interesting. And it would encourage you to listen a bit more carefully and stuff. I think for me, it was just really helped me develop more kind of Catholic tastes and not be too sort of prescriptive about what I chose to listen to.
Yeah, I mean, for me, my primary reason for buying the magazine was to scour it for any mention of David Bowie.
Nice.
Hungry for Bowie news on a fortnightly basis. Yeah, that was my primary reason for getting it. But I was there by proxy right from the beginning. It's my older sister. She bought the magazine for the first year or so that it was coming out. So I was not necessarily reading it then, because I would have only been 5 years old and I could read. So I don't know how much of it went in. But certainly when we've been back to those early issues, visually, it's like, suddenly travelling down some sort of weird time tunnel in your memory. It's like, and I'm straight back into the old cold Victorian house that we lived in the 1970s with wood chip wallpaper and damp on the walls and things. So it's just had a really strong impact on me right from the word go, and it was always there, throughout my life. I kept getting the magazine until I was probably 16, 17 years old. Not that I was reading it by that point. I just told my mum to. I'd forgotten to tell my mum to cancel it at the newsagents. So it kept on being delivered. Yeah. So initially it was for the Bowie content, whatever there was. Probably in 85, 86, there would usually be some mention of him somewhere, Dame David Bowie,
right,
as he was known to the readers of Smash Hits back then. But it was just an enjoyable read, and I just enjoyed finding out about all the different artists. So Bits was always a favourite part of the magazine for me, and the singles reviews. And when we go back now and look at the issues, they're still the bits that really stand out to me, because I just like the way that it rattles through so many things in bits, and then you get a good kind of cross-section of the singles that were coming out around about that time.
Yeah, we talk about, I think on the episode that we recorded, I think at some point in time I mentioned that I would often read these music magazines at the store while my mom was shopping. And that was the number one thing. If I had like 5 minutes time to look at one of these magazines before we had to leave, the number one thing I would look at would be the singles reviews. I would want to know what's new, and I want to know what people think about it so I can decide if I'm going to agree with them or hate that person from that point on in my life. And also, I'm a big David Bowie fan too. The older I get, the more I love Bowie. And Hunky Dory is probably my number 3 or number 4 album. So I'm really excited about the upcoming deluxe set. What do you think about it? Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, very much so. The David Bowie archival releases have been a mixed bag, I would think. But we're coming into a really fertile period for him in 1971, where I think... I really like Hunky Dory, and I would say sometimes it's my favourite David Bowie album, and sometimes it's the second, or sometimes it's the third. It rotates between Hunky Dory, Low, and Diamond Dogs. But if anybody asks me who doesn't know David Bowie very well, what album should I listen to, I will always say Hunky Dory. I think it's his most, it's his warmest album. It's probably his most human album. But and a lot of people say, it's David Bowie, discovering his voice and all this sort of thing. And it was to an extent, but it's also David Bowie playing at being a singer-songwriter. It's another character that he's being, and I don't think that's necessarily acknowledged. But it is where his songwriting took great leaps and bounds. Where, you're thinking like the construction of something like Life on Mars, Quicksand, or even Changes. They move in unexpected ways. So he was really putting in some thought into his songwriting craft, but I think that was hugely informed by the dominance of the singer-songwriter in the early 70s. And you think about his contemporaries, Elton John, Rod Stewart, Cat Stevens even, they both started out on the same record label, DRAM, however it's said, in 1966, both put out the debut albums around about the same time. Cat Stevens' debut album is just as crazy as David Bowie's debut album. So they were contemporaries, and I think by 71, Cat Stevens, Rod Stewart, Elton John, Mark Bolan, all hugely successful. Bowie wasn't. They were leaving him behind, and I think Hunky Dory was his like, if I don't get my act together now, this is it, game over for me. And I think he was looking to what they were doing and incorporating that into what he did for Hunky Dory before he took the next step onto Ziggy Stardust. So for me, Hunky Dory is as much of a character, a coat that David Bowie was trying on, as much as anything else that he did. It's still not the real David Bowie. It's a David Bowie.
Yeah. Awesome artist, incredible album, but he's no 6-6 Sputnik.
Absolutely not. Although he did cover Love Missile F-111. So
That's right, he did.
He did indeed.
Where 6-6 Sputnik when David Bowie followed.
Wow.
So when we first started talking about doing this little chat to talk about the episode, I was trying to figure out how we were going to incorporate it into our shows, not our theme, but we have two types of episodes. We have standard episodes, which start with our standard theme, and we have concert memories episodes that start with a completely different song. And I lack the ability to go outside of those two paths. I'm not very flexible. So at first I was trying to figure out a way that we can turn this into a concert memory thing. Oh, maybe we all saw the same artist on the same tour and we can talk about it. Turns out we don't seem to have done that. But from talking to you guys, I know that you each have recently seen two really good concerts. Each of you went to, in the past couple weeks, two shows that sound awesome to me. And so I was just wondering if you could each give us a report from your incredible concerts that you were just at recently that I wish I could have seen.
Gavin, I mean, yours is the most recent. It's only a couple of nights ago, so it's still fresh in your memory.
Yeah, I can talk about that. Yeah, so I went to see, for the first time ever, went to see Mark Almond at a lovely venue called the Buxton Opera House, which Si will have been to several times, I'm sure. It's a lovely venue, isn't it, Si? It's kind of an quite a grand old theatre in a small town in the Peak District. Yeah, it was a beautiful show. I didn't really know what to expect. I don't know an awful lot of his stuff. I got the last album, and obviously I know the soft cell hits and some of the Mark Almond stuff, some of his solo stuff, but haven't really followed his career very much at all. And sometimes you go to a gig and you think, I don't know if I'm going to know many of the songs, and will it be a bit boring if I don't know them? But it didn't matter. It was one of those concerts you go to where the stuff you know and the stuff you don't know is just all really great, and you love it equally. Yeah, it was wonderful. He had a really tight band, like 3 backing singers, someone on marimba for quite a few tunes, and really tight band. I think a lot of his stuff, I presume it wasn't that well known. I certainly recognised some of the hits, but I think there were a lot of quite deep cuts that were very sort of cabaret-ish and like kind of Scott Walker type chanson things. He did a beautiful cover of Rent by Pet Shop Boys, which was great, really slowed down. As soon as he started, when he kind of sang the first few words, I was like, it's Rent. And it was a beautiful version. I don't know if he's recorded that version, but I'd love to get a copy of him doing it. He did John I'm Only Dancing, and he also did, Si was just talking about Hunky Dory, he did, Bowie did a version of My Way, didn't he? Or he kind of did his own lyrics for My Way.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
yep.
That's right. Yeah, even a fool learns to love. Yeah,
that's right. So Mark Almond did that as well, because it was My Way, and then he was doing these other lyrics, and I was like, is this Bowie? And then at the end, he kind of said what it was. So yeah, it was another nod to
that's
Bowie.
wild. That's
yeah,
cool.
So that was good, and a few Scott Walker tunes, and finished with Say Hello, Wave Goodbye and Tainted Love, as you would expect. But again, even then, it wasn't cheesy. It was just in keeping with the night. He even did an impromptu version of Sex Dwarf, which was hilarious because there was one woman down the front who kept shouting, Sex Dwarf, Sex Dwarf, and he was getting really unhappy about it, and he made a few comments and said a few words that I won't repeat on your upstanding podcast, but he clearly wasn't very happy. But by the end, he'd got over it, and I think maybe she'd stopped eventually. I stopped hearing her after a while. So I think right towards the end of the concert, he had a quick word with the guitarist. He was kind of just whispering in his ear, and then they came and just did a quick 1-minute acoustic version of Sex Dwarf. And everyone was loving it.
Okay.
So yeah, if you ever get the chance to see Mark Almond in concert, then go, because it was a great night. I'll definitely be seeing him again.
Very cool.
I love it.
And Simon, what about your show?
Yeah, I was at the Roxy Music 50th anniversary tour, so I went to see them in Glasgow a couple of weeks ago. So I think they did 10 dates in the States and then 3 shows in the UK, and that's kind of it. I think it's the end of Roxy Music as a live outfit as we know them. And I saw them many times on the 2001 reunion tour. I've been a lifelong fan.
Okay.
And that was, they stopped touring in 83. Never really split up, they just kind of drifted apart. And so I never had the chance to see them live. And I think I saw them about 8 or 9 times in 2001, and I had such an amazing time on that tour that I didn't want to go and see them again. Even though they'd reunited a few times over the years and little tours or festivals and things like that, I just didn't want to spoil that memory. But when these shows were announced, I thought, I think this is probably going to be the last time, 50th anniversary. And so I thought, well, I'll go, and I'll go up to Glasgow. It's a 230-mile journey, which is probably nothing for you guys, but here it's like, you have to think seriously about that. Do I want to drive 230 miles? I needed a good sleep at the end of that drive. I can't just drive and then go to a gig. UK roads are so difficult to navigate, so fiddly. So yeah, we made a couple of days out of it and had a nice wander around Glasgow, which is an amazing city. I've been a couple of times before. Met up with some old friends there and went to the show. And I'll be honest, I found it deeply moving experience. Very mixed emotions about it. I felt an enormous sadness for quite a part of it. And I wish I'd experienced it in a different way. Because I know lots of people who went who just had a brilliant time, but I don't know, to quote, to use a Roxy Music song title, it was bittersweet because you're seeing these guys who are now, only 4 original members out of 13 musicians on stage. Each of the original members was supported by at least one other musician. So like Brian Ferry, there were 3 backing vocalists. Paul Thompson had a percussionist working alongside him, Andy Mackay on sax, and there was a second sax player who was kind of backing him up and reinforcing some of the stuff that he does. And there was a second guitarist as well. I don't think Phil Manzanera was necessarily needing a second guitarist, but he was there to kind of fill out the sound a bit. And so it was... it's probably just the time of life that I'm at, But I just felt it was sad in a way. Not thinking, oh my God, they shouldn't be doing this, but sad seeing them doing it and knowing that this is probably going to be the last time, and seeing that they're not the musicians and performers that they used to be. The songs were dropped enormously in key. So like Jealous Guy, I mean, I wouldn't care if I never heard Jealous Guy again, to be honest, but that was originally in G, that was dropped down to D sharp. Any further it's going to meet itself coming back around the other way. A lot of the songs, it's like they'd start and then and they'd like, oh, something's not quite right about this, and then it'd get to a chorus and you think, well, where are they going to go with this? I couldn't gauge whether where the songs were going to go, and that for me robbed them a lot of their energy and dynamic. The band were kind of performing very cautiously. But I'll caveat that with saying, if I can do even half of what Brian Ferry was doing when I'm 77, I'll be more than happy. So yeah, it was good, but it was sad.
That's understandable. If you've been a fan for so long and knowing that this is the last time you're going to get to see them live, and odds are there's not going to be any more studio albums. Maybe they'll release like a live album from this tour just to get some bucks. But
I wouldn't have thought so. Brian, the range of Brian Ferry's voice isn't tremendous anymore, unfortunately. And I imagine all the shows will have been recorded in some form or other. But whether people would want to listen to it, I don't know. No, I mean, and there's no chance of there being any more studio material. Right. They attempted that in the mid-2000s. They even got Brian Eno back on board, and according to Phil Manzanera, within a couple of days, the old tensions were surfacing. They just kind of slotted back into the relationship dynamics that they'd had in the 70s, and I don't think any of them were comfortable with that. But also, Brian Ferry is a great recycler, so much of what was recorded during those sessions has been repurposed for his solo albums since.
Okay. Yeah, they played not too far from us, probably about half the distance away that you drove. They were in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I know, but we did not get to go.
No.
They had St. Vincent supporting over there, which I think would have been an amazing show. If St. Vincent had been doing the support slots here, then I would have been well made up. We didn't have a support of the stature of St. Vincent. I can't remember who the support was. She was good, but she was no St. Vincent, unfortunately.
Well, let's move on then. I'm sorry you didn't. That it was sort of, like you said, a bittersweet. So let's talk about even happier, better times. What are one or two of your best ever concert experiences?
Oh,
I know.
So I've been going through, because when we were discussing, have we been at the same gigs or seen shows on the same tour, or at the very least seen the same artists.
Right.
So I started going through. I'd started making I'd made a list years ago, and that was lost on an old computer. And then the website setlist.fm. So I'd started clicking the button that says "I was there" on the shows where you can that have been entered on there. But I haven't updated that for like 10 years. So I was going through a lot of my old ticket stubs. I don't know where they all are, but I've got a big chunk of them in a drawer, sort of going back to the early 90s, and then there's a big gap, and then there's ones from the last few years. So I've been updating the list, and There's a few shows that stand out over the years. I guess, I don't know if you guys know Richard Hawley, who's a singer-songwriter from Sheffield, my hometown.
Oh, okay.
He was in the Long Pigs in the 90s, who put out a couple of albums, and then he played with Pulp for a while. He was childhood friends with a couple of the members of Pulp and ended up as their kind of second touring guitarist. And then he went solo about 20 years ago, and he put out certainly his first kind of 3 or 4 albums. It's really lush singer-songwriter sort of stuff in that kind of Scott Walker, Lee Hazelwood sort of territory. There's a bit of an Americana twang to it. I mean, in Yorkshire in the 1970s, country music was huge, and his dad performed on the club circuits in Yorkshire in the 60s, well, through the 60s through to the 80s, and was a big country music fan. So there's a lot of that going in there. And he played, I think it was December 2006, and it was his first headlining show at Sheffield City Hall, the venue that I'd grown up going to, the venue that he'd grown up going to. You know, my first concert was there. Used to go to pantomimes there. So it's such a beautiful venue. It's got this amazing domed ceiling inside, and no matter where you sit in there, you know, it's a proper concert hall, and it's been designed with acoustics in mind. So no matter where you sit, you have a good view and you have good sound. And I just felt so proud of him that night. Just this huge warmth, and I think a lot of that, you know, a lot of the audience there were feeling the same thing, and he was very humbled by it as well. So that show always sticks in my mind. And yeah, I guess the times that I've seen David Bowie as well, you know, I've seen him in various venues, varying sizes, from varying different locations in those venues, from sort of like a tiny club in London that held 600 people to, you know, the biggest arenas and outdoor gigs in the UK. And I always found the bigger the venue, the better he was, in a strange sort of way. Oh, interesting. Because the club night, which was on the Earthling tour, so there was a lot of the, you know, hard drum and bass stuff going on in there, and it was before he did the wider tour, so it was more orientated to the dancier side of what he was doing at that time, and with heavily kind of rearranged songs and things. And I've got absolutely no memory of that night. I remember walking into the venue, because I remember being searched. It was just off the Hanover, was it the Hanover Grand, just off Oxford Circus? I don't think it's in London. I don't think it's there anymore. So yeah, we were frisked as we walked into the venue. I remember standing in the venue. I remember, I think it may have been Talvin Singh or something like that. It was like sort of like doing a DJ set, but with live percussion. And it was so loud. I was like, oh. And I remember David Bowie coming on, and that's it. Yeah, I didn't drink at the time or anything like that, so I don't know. And I bought an Earthling flag at the end of the night, which I've still got. I even remember walking along Oxford Street to get to the bus stop on Tottenham Court Road. I don't remember the gig.
That's so weird.
Oh my goodness!
It's just this blank space in my head.
Oh.
But the first time I saw him was at the on the Sound of Vision tour,
wow.
and he played the Birmingham NEC. And I was 16 at the time, and I snuck in a tape recorder to record it. And so I got that stuff down at the front of my jeans, and we were being frisked as we walked into there. And for whatever reason, the way that it was kind of wedged down my trousers, it caught the fast forward button. So there's this whirring coming from my trousers on this little portable cassette recorder. Yeah, and then one of my brothers, he was there, and he was getting steadily more and more drunk, and yeah. So I remember that. But no, I remember Bowie coming on, Space Oddity, and you know, if you look up the Sound and Vision tour, in fact, if you've seen the Moon Age Daydream film, there's a lot of there were a lot of projections that were used in the tour, specially recorded footage that was projected into this huge, you know, it was as high as a stage. So actually, Bowie and the band were like these tiny little figures, and you got these huge screens and this gauze that would come in front of the band and things that would be projected onto. So Space Oddity starts, and there's this huge projection of David Bowie, and his face just kind of looms in. And then he looks down at himself, and there's just this spotlight on David Bowie playing his acoustic guitar, singing Space Oddity, and I just floods of tears. It was the first time I've seen David Bowie, and I was
That's
like,
awesome.
oh my God, I'm in the same space as David Bowie, and to this day I still get the chills when I see that footage, and it was the first time that I'd knowingly seen they used bits from the Life on Mars video, the one that Mick Rock directed. So that was being projected on the screens at the side of the stage as Bowie was singing. But that had a real effect on me as well. It was the first time that I'd knowingly seen it, but there was something about it that was so familiar, and I didn't know why, but I also found that really emotional. So, yeah, as you can tell, I just don't go to gigs and cry, basically. I always carry a pack of tissues with me wherever I go.
Very smart. Yeah, the first time we saw him was on the Earthling tour.
That's right.
And I remember, I didn't cry, but there were a few numbers that really, really did hit me emotionally. Like I was just like, we're in this really small venue seeing this legendary performer who could sell out a place 50 times this without missing a beat, and we're hearing him he's doing Quicksand right now in front of me by himself on an acoustic guitar. It was just incredible.
We didn't get Quicksand.
Really?
I only know that because I looked it up. He did 2 nights at the same club. The first night he did Quicksand and probably more the set that you would have seen. The second night he ditched all those old songs. And he did, the first half was all the more Earthling style stuff, and I was having a Bowie crisis then, I will admit. I was thinking, oh my God, what does all this music mean? And he's fake and all this sort of thing, and then I eventually realised, oh no, this is what David Bowie does. And then the second half was, and this is only, again, I've got bootlegs of it, and I've looked up the set list. So the second half we got more things like Waiting for the Man and Queen Bitch and things like that. Yeah, the only song I remember from the night is "Oh Superman," which Gail Dorsey sang.
Oh man, that's so crazy. I think it's Reeves Gabrels did something to you. I don't know what he did or how he did it, but I think it's his fault.
Yes, let's blame Reeves.
How about you, Gavin? Any particular show that just stands out in your memory as being awesome?
Well, yeah, you were mentioning Suede or London Suede earlier on, and I only ever saw them once, but I caught them at a really good time. I think it was the week that the first album came out. It was around about that time. It was within a week or two at Hull University. So this would have been about 93, I think, something like that, early 93. And that was a tremendous gig because they'd had a few singles so they were really the darlings of the music press at that time. And I'd bought the tickets, a month or two in advance, and then it came. The show came, and there was just, when you go to those gigs where there's just a real huge buzz about a band or an artist, and there's just like an amazing energy about them, and it was that, and Brett was just in his element, all the slapping his bum with a tambourine and going crazy, and it was just such a good gig. It was really good. The crowd were really up for it, so that was a really good one. And I mean, in terms of seeing bands sort of at the peak time as well, I saw Pulp in '95 in Liverpool, just as Common People, I think, had just come out the week before or something, so that was just climbing up the charts. And again, it just kind of captured an energy and a mood, and just kind of hit. So that was really good. I mean, in terms of bands, I've seen a lot. The Fall, I'm a huge fan of The Fall. I think I've seen them about 14 times altogether over the years, and I saw them a couple of times in the States. My first trip to the States when I was about 23, 24, and I was staying in San Francisco for a bit of time, and also in LA. So I saw them in San Francisco, and that was a great show. And then 3 days later, I was back in LA and saw them again. So that was amazing, because there's always something really exciting about seeing a band, particularly that you've already seen in your home country, like abroad. It's kind of, ooh, it feels really kind of exotic, And it was the LA show when I left. I think it was at the Roxy in LA. I came out, and Courtney Love and Kurt Cobain were walking around outside, and they were trying to get onto the tour bus, the Pulse tour bus, because they were big fans. So I mean, they at the time they were huge. This is like 93 or something. So it was kind of like just an amazing American experience. Wow. Yeah. Right. So you think Kurt and Courtney literally brushed past me on the pavement or the sidewalk after the gig. So I mean, there were a couple of highlights for me for sure.
That's really cool. Have you listened to the new Suede album?
I haven't. No, not yet. I like Suede, but I think after coming up, I think I started to lose a bit of touch with them, but I have listened to some of the more recent ones again and enjoyed those. But I don't know, there's just so much to listen to.
Right. Well, this album is getting great reviews, and I got it the day it came out, and I didn't really like it. It didn't really connect with me, but everyone else loves it, and I've been playing it pretty much every day since then. And with each listen, I like it more and more. Like right now,
Okay.
I do love it. I think coming up, I always say, I've only been into Suede for the past 3 months. I'm just getting into them now. And so up until this week, Coming Up has been my favorite album by them. But I may like this new one even more. And I started out not really digging it.
It's a good thing that if you have to put in a bit of work, as long as it's not hard work and you're just like you're not sure about these things. I think it's better if an album's like that and you give it a bit of time and give it some repeated listens. It's more rewarding in the end.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah.
So
forget instant gratification.
Yeah.
we want delayed gratification. That's what
right.
I was going to say, one of the things in terms of listening to new music is because of the Giddy Carousel of Pop, I spend probably half of my music listening time listening to a playlist of, stuff from 1985 or 1987 or something. So,
I know how that
you
is.
guys know. So, yeah.
That's right. You spent the last month listening to that Ozzy Osbourne song that was on our playlist from our...
Yeah. I wanted to ask Brian, just before I forget, because you said when earlier on when Si and I were talking about some of the guests, you said there was one guest that said something that had enraged you.
Oh,
but you never got to tell us.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, come on.
Spill the beans.
All right, I'll spill the beans. Unfortunately, I can't remember this person's name because I was so out of my mind with rage. But I live in a household that is very anti The Mission. And I myself am a huge fan of Wayne Hussey and The Mission. I think they are the bee's knees. Everything they've ever done. I have handwritten lyrics from Wayne framed on the wall. Anytime there's something deluxe that comes out from The Mission, I pick it up. Love those guys. And you had a guy on who was in charge of putting together a cover for Smash Hits one fortnight. And he went with The Mission. He said he put The Mission on it, and I was so excited. I was like, this guy's awesome. And then 5 minutes later, he's expressing disgust with himself, and he said, I made a terrible mistake. I should have put Janet Jackson on the cover. I saw red. Much like you can't remember that Bowie concert, I can't remember the second half of that episode because I was just out of my mind. I was like, first, my wife doesn't want me to listen to this band. She badmouths them all the time. She's doing a thumbs down right now as we speak. And then you and your guests all turn against them as well. I couldn't believe it. So that's my least favorite episode.
That'd have been Barry McElhenney, yeah.
Fair.
When you asked us, what's a podcast mission statement? I mean, that's what I was thinking of Wayne Hussey. Do we have a statement about the mission? In 1986, I was quite partial to The Mission. I bought remember rushing out and buying the Severina single.
Oh.
They did a live performance on it on a UK music show called The Whistle Test on TV. So they opened the show with Severina and then they closed the show with their version of Tomorrow Never Knows. The Beatles song.
Yep.
So I rushed out and bought the single. And Tomorrow Never Knows was on the B-side. I thought, this is amazing because that was my favourite Beatles song at that time. So, I was partial to a bit of Wayne and the Mish, and the guitarist is from Sheffield.
Simon.
So yeah.
Oh, you like his name as well then?
Yeah. Actually, I don't like my name, but if he likes his name, then that's fine. Okay. But yeah, Simon Hingley used to be in a band called Artery, and then was helped out with the first Pulp album, and then was in the Mighty Mish.
Yeah, that's right. Severina is a song that Wayne pretty much hates these days.
Did Led Zeppelin ever sue him over it or not?
They were pretty Zeppelin influenced. In fact, what's his name? John Paul Jones or whatever produced Children, that whole album.
The Children album, yes, he did. Yeah.
So I think just a few months ago, on our little text thread that we have with each other, I think I asked you if you guys had seen Wayne around town because he was in Sheffield a couple months ago. I forget why.
He certainly didn't say hello to me. I'm 25 miles away over a rather precarious road. So.
Yeah, I hear the roads in the UK are not that good. Terrible. That's why it takes us so long to get anywhere.
Yeah, I didn't see Wayne Hussey, but last time I went into Sheffield town centre a couple of weeks ago, I bumped into David Hepworth, bizarrely enough. And he lives in London. He was just up staying in Sheffield because he'd had a promotional thing for a book he'd just got out about Abbey Road. And then he was on his way somewhere else, but he was just walking around the city centre for half an hour, enjoying the weather. And I was behind him, and I was like, he looks like Dave Entworth. And I was like, no, he's in London. And then I got close, and I was like, it is. And I was like, David? Turned around, I was like, oh, hi. And we had a chat for 5 minutes. So that was pretty cool.
That's cool.
Expecting that.
Oh, that's so great.
Because it was in a pub in Sheffield that we first spoke to David about the podcast. We'd done a pilot episode. We hadn't put it out yet. We were just sort of toying with the idea. And David had done an event in Sheffield, and we met up with him afterwards. I mean, it makes it sound like we're great showbiz mates or something. But Gavin,
not.
Yeah,
we are.
But no, Gavin's known him a few years, and I've met him a few times, and I hosted an event that he did a few years ago. So yeah, we were chatting in the pub afterwards, and I was like, I'm going to speak to David about the podcast. I'm going to mention it to him. Yeah. And so we started talking about it. Yeah, we all got drinks in the pub. Non-alcoholic for me. I was driving, and he sort of like, he looked a bit unsure about that. Then offered a couple of alternative suggestions for names. So no, you should call it this. But then he started talking about some of the memories of it, and his favourite memory of working on Smash Hits, which just happened to be when he was in New York, and they'd done the deal to launch the US version, Star Hits. He said we were in this really nice hotel suite, and it'd all been paid for, and we're drinking ice cold beer from a bucket of ice, and we thought, this is amazing, this is the life. So anyway, where he'd done the event was probably about a mile and a half from where he was staying. He was going to call a cab, and I said, well, I've got to drive that way anyway. A total lie. I said, I've got to drive that way anyway. I'll give you a lift down. I thought, this is it. This is my chance to kind of ask him if he'll come on the podcast. And unfortunately, I got lost in some of Sheffield's city centre's one-way systems and things, so I could see his hotel. I can't get to it. We're driving through roadworks and coming up to no entry signs, having to turn around, just sort of circumnavigating his hotel. Jeez. Just getting more and more frustrated. But yeah, we're chatting as we're going along. He's a good human fella, and saw the funny side of it. And then as he got out of the car, he just, before he closed the door, said, drop me a line about the podcast. I thought, mission accomplished.
Nice.
There we go. Keep him in the car long enough, and eventually he'll just
get out and go, yeah, I'll do it, whatever.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I'm hoping will happen with Neil Tennant, that one day he'll just accidentally end up in my car, and then we'll get lost somewhere, and then by the end of it I'll have just got lost enough into submission so that he just agrees to coming on the podcast. There we go.
That sounds like a plan.
Fingers crossed. I have one last thing for our conversation that I like to address. I'm going to do something that I don't often do here on the podcast. I'm going to turn the spotlight on myself, because you guys know I don't like to draw attention to myself. But Simon, Gavin, rumor is that your new episode of the Giddy Carousel of Pop is going to shine a spotlight on a criminally overlooked but highly influential synth pop duo from Central Pennsylvania's 1986 music scene. And I was just wondering, without giving too much away, without spoiling too much, how do you foresee the introduction of this amazing band changing the face of music in 2022?
I mean, I think we can just draw a line in the sand, just before the episode comes out, because after that, music's going to change forever, irrevocably. I think the musical landscape will never be the same again. It's a deep cut, but I think the world is ready for it. Sometimes you have to let things sit for a while, just because the outside world and culture just can't accept it, because sometimes things are just too strange and too unknown and too out there.
You're right.
But I think the time has come, and I'm really excited and totally psyched to see culture changing before our eyes.
Isn't it so funny that in 1986, like you said, people just couldn't wrap their head around it, but in 2022 it seems so perfect and so essential.
I think sometimes art has a time that it has to come out at that time, like say, and it can come too early or too late sometimes, and it doesn't get the recognition it deserves. This is the perfect moment.
Yeah, this is the time. Because you think about the Velvet Underground Nick
right,
Drake, big star. All kind of ignored at the time.
Yep.
Yet the influence of them came and recognition came much later on. We're talking about a similar sort of thing here.
I think you're so
I'm
right.
talking about something even bigger, to be honest. But I mean, it's in that ballpark of like Velvet Underground, Nick Drake,
Yeah.
Star, but
Next level. Next
I think it's
level.
bigger than all of those three combined.
It is definitely on a different level. I will say that.
Yeah. Been a few years without Bowie now, and we all kind of miss that feeling that there's a true artist about in the world who's creating magic and bringing the world together. But now we can reach back into time and pull that artist out, and and maybe there's still hope for mankind. So
Oh, wow. Oh, boy.
It's no coincidence that Bowie and Brian are both 5 letters and start with B.
exactly.
And if you guys want to know exactly what we're talking about, you'll want to check out the upcoming episode of the Giddy Carousel of Pop. You can get the episode, you can get all the details at giddypoppod.home.blog or on your podcast app of choice. At the time that we're recording, we're a week or 2 away. But by the time this gets released, I think it'll be a week or
Imminent.
less. Yeah, it'll be right on the way. So you'll want to subscribe so you get the episode right when it drops. You won't want to exist a single second without this episode once it's available. That's what I think. So don't forget to subscribe. It's very important. So
Absolutely.
So guys, thanks for all that shameless promotion of complete nonsense. And thanks for making time to hang out with us on the weekend. I know you guys could be doing better stuff, but I wanted to talk to you again, and I wanted to hype up the show because, like I said earlier, we're following up Dexy's Midnight Runners, and we need every bit of help we can get so our downloads don't stink compared to those.
No, it was a great show. It was a lot of fun having the two of you on, and I'm looking forward to seeing what people make of it, but I'm sure they're going to enjoy it.
I hope you're right. Thanks to you guys for inviting us because like I said online, and I've said to you guys, and I'm totally not making it up, I'm being completely serious. Your podcast is one of my 3 favorite podcasts that I listen to, so it was a great honor to get to talk with you. And when you listen to a podcast and you really like it, you get that weird feeling that you act like you're friends with the people on it. So
Well, that's I would say that the best podcasts are the ones where you want to join in the conversation. It's
Right.
Like, no,
Yeah.
but what
Yeah.
about this?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
And before we sign off, I just want to mention one other thing because Gavin is going through a pretty exciting time right now. Gavin, tell us about We Peeked at Paper, an oral history of the British zines.
Oh, well, if I must, then yeah, sure. So this is a book that myself and my friend and co-author Hamish Ironside, which is a great name.
That's amazing.
I've been working on. Yeah, I've been working on for several years now. It's published by a company called Boat Whistle. That's all one word, Boat Whistle. And it's an oral history of British fanzines or British zines. So we start in the 1970s with kind of looking at the history, really, well, kind of going back to the 1930s, which is when the first sci-fi zines happened. 1936 was the first UK one. So Hamish interviewed a guy called Rob who was really plugged into that world, and so he talks a lot about the history of the sci-fi zines and then about the zine that he did as a sci-fi fan. And then we moved through kind of quite influential punk zines like Sniffing Glue, which was a really big one in the UK by a guy called Mark Perry, and then we interviewed Mick Middles, who did a punk zine in Manchester like a year or 2 later. And we kind of moved through the years from there, really, through post-punk and the indie zines, and then also football zines, which are a big thing in the UK as well. And then through Riot Girl and up to the present day, where we've got a young lad who was 10 when he started it in lockdown. He's 12 now. He does a zine called Pint Size Punk. He's done about 17 issues so far of that. He's got lots of enthusiasm, and there's some other people that are still doing zines. And like I say, each one is a transcribed interview with them about what their influences were, what makes a zine, the zines that they enjoyed, and just how they ended up putting it together and what they learned from it. Quite a few of them have gone on to be quite well-respected writers. There's Pete Pafides, who's a big music journalist in this country now. We've got Rodri Marsden, who plays for Scritti Politti.
Oh, cool.
He's also a journalist. Yeah, there's a really wide range. We tried to get as broad a range of fanzines as possible and talk to them and get their stories, really, their histories. It's almost it's kind of a cultural and a sociological history as well, really.
Very cool. I love the oral history format of books. Like, if you let yourself get into it, you get caught up in it, and you close the pages, and an hour from then you'll be like did I read that, or was I watching an interview with in your head? It's such a personal way of communication, and it comes across on the page like that. It's kind of, there's this James Bond documentary. I forget what it's called right now, but it's the story of George Lazenby, who played James Bond once. And you never see the interviewer and you never hear questions, but it's just him talking and some reenactments as he tells the story. But at the end of it, both my friend and I said, that was amazing. I feel like I just sat down and had a conversation with Lazenby the way that was presented to me. And I've been finding that same sort of feeling coming from, this past year, I've read a couple books that were oral history books, and I just love that format. It gives you that same feeling, and it really draws you into the text. I love it.
Oh, great. Thank you. I mean, you can order it in America via Boat Whistle, but I think postage is quite pricey. But then with the way the pound's going at the moment, it may not be that expensive.
Okay. Oh,
every cloud has a silver lining.
that's right.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
So congratulations on that, Gavin. That's awesome.
Thank you very much.
Simon, anything we need to plug?
No, I don't have any books coming out.
All right.
Apart from a book about 1986, which
Right.
I started writing in my head.
It's a very short pamphlet.
There's 300 pages
Manifesto.
of rant.
I hate 1986. I hate 1986.
Well, guys, thanks again for everything and for making time to hang out with us today. It was great fun. And
Anytime.
We're looking forward to the episode. We hope people will download it and let us all know if you put anything on our social media. Be sure to tag the Giddy Carousel so they see it, and vice versa. Let's get everyone listening to this and show Simon and Gavin that they didn't waste their time coming across the ocean to the colonies and snagging us to ride on the Giddy Carousel. Right, Sarah?
That's right.
Thanks. It's been a pleasure. It was lovely doing the episode with you. It's been lovely talking to you again.
Hi, please check out 80s Music Podcast, 80sography, full of interviews with people like Midge Ure, Alana Curry, and Hugh Hadjum. No idea who they are. With audio commentaries, no clue. Anatomy of a Song episodes, what? And also my 80sography, where a guest go through their 80s career year by year. So that's 80sography. 80sography. One word, available everywhere. Thank you. Can I go now?
Yes, thanks. And now back to Brian and Sarah. Groovy.
All right. Well, that was awesome getting to spend some time with Simon and Gavin and talk about smash hits and just music in general. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree. It's great to talk to them. Every time that we've talked to them, I've had a very good time. I really like their podcast, and it was a real treat to be able to be on it.
We hope you guys will check it out when the episode drops, which I can't say when it'll be in relation to this because I don't know how long it's going to take me to edit this episode together.
Yeah, there's a lot of unknowns here.
There are.
We know it's coming out.
That's right. But if you subscribe, you'll for sure know about it.
Indeed.
We hope you will enjoy it. So, Sarah.
Yes.
It has been a while since we have been here in the studio to record an episode.
I know. It's been even longer that we've been in here to talk about Aha.
Yeah, that's right, because our last episode was with the Halo guys.
Yeah.
So that book has come out in the meantime, so hopefully everyone picked it up and really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great read.
Awesome.
So we are going to, because we have some time left, Sarah, we are going to push forward on the Aha Scoundrel Days.
Ever so slowly.
Yep.
We're getting there.
It's not going to take as many episodes as Queen the Miracle.
No, probably not.
But it's going to be up there. So we are going to talk about one of the tracks today on side 2, but before we get to it,
Oh, man, there's still a delay, huh?
there is, Sarah, I don't know if you remember this, but there was quite a controversy after we released our last Aha episode, which I understand was like 2 months ago, so you might have forgotten this.
Okay.
But we received a lot of messages on email and on social media that we misunderstood some lyrics.
Yeah. I do remember that.
So do you remember what the controversy was?
It wakes me up at night, you know. I wake up in a cold sweat. No. Yeah, I actually do remember the controversy as well. And we were talking about the song Cry Wolf. I will say it for you so you don't have to worry about John Lamoureux making fun of you.
Oh, yeah. Did I say it? Did I say the title already in this episode?
No,
I think I may have.
I don't think so.
Okay, good. I hope I can
Yeah.
avoid saying it.
Yeah. So when we were talking about the song Cry Wolf, the very beginning, we both thought that Morton was saying hello. We don't know why.
It doesn't make much sense.
Don't know why we said that, but we
Hello.
hello.
Night I left the city.
Like he's introducing the second side of the album. I don't know. Yeah, so we both mentioned that in the episode and promptly heard back from lots of you who said, he's not saying hello, he's saying, Okay, yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
And once I was told that, I was like, oh, yeah, I can hear that. For some reason, the lyric book starts with, Night I left the city, dreamt of a wolf.
He must
Wolf.
have
Wolf, John, wolf.
Wolf. He must have ad-libbed that in the studio at the recording time, or the people that write the lyrics decided, that's not really important to include. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Either way, we got it wrong. We were heard about it, and we are very grateful for your help and very sorry for our mistake.
Exactly. So we are going to move on now to the second song on side 2. And this is a little number entitled, We're Looking for the Whales.
Restlessness is in our genes. Time won't wear it off. Born into this world with our eyes wide open. Girl, we're looking for a little bewildered girl. We're looking for a little bewildered girl.
So this song, I gotta say, when it comes to understanding some of it, I am a little bewildered girl.
Well, I'm looking at you.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for you.
No,
I'm looking at you.
I'm right here.
And I'm kind of with you when it comes to this song in terms of its lyrical content.
Yeah.
There are little sections of it that I can make sense out of. But overall, the big picture, I am not seeing it.
I am not either. It's in a haze or a fog or something. I don't know.
So we'll have to get to that.
Yeah.
Let's do things like song history and reviews, whatever
Sure.
we have. Let's do all that first before we get to our questions and our own thoughts about it.
Okay.
Do you have any reviews about this song? I know it wasn't a single, but...
Yeah, it wasn't a single. So all I have are little snippets from the articles that you and I have been using in our research that talk about the entire album. And, some of them actually do mention this song. That's all I've got. What have you got?
I have the same sort of thing.
You want to go first with what you have?
All right. I have one that I thought was outrageous.
Oh, yeah?
So I put it right on top. I only have 2.
Okay.
But this one I just thought was so off target.
Okay.
That I had to spotlight it. And it is our friends at Classic Pop Magazine, a magazine I really enjoy.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
And they say that there's an urgent momentum to We're Looking for the Whales that recalls the propulsive Take On Me. Oh, boy. Any comparison between this song and Take On Me is just ridiculous.
So you must also hate the "This is Dig" comment that says We're Looking for the Whales has closest echoes to the band's signature song.
Well, I'm not hearing it. I guess these 2 people are, so 2 outnumbers 1, and so there must be something there. But man, this song is just nowhere near the level of Take On Me, in my opinion. Take On Me is a simple pop song, I guess, but it's a classic pop song.
Yeah.
This song doesn't seem to radiate any classic quality, but it does certainly radiate simple qualities.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm coming from.
All right. Do you have any other comments from articles you've read?
I just have one. It's not helpful or clever to any great extent, but Nirvana, a site that I've been following along with as we talked about this entire album, says We're Looking for the Whales is not much to write home about. Pleasant enough, but essentially pointless outside of some gentle toe tapping.
Okay.
Which is closer to how I feel about this song than the classic pop.
All right.
I wouldn't go as far to the negative side as they're going, but I would side with them over classic
So
pop.
you might actually write home about it.
Yeah, I don't think my parents would be too excited to get that letter.
Okay.
But I don't even know what stamps cost anymore here in the U.S.
Yeah, I don't either.
I'm not sure it would be money well spent, but I guess maybe my mom would enjoy getting a letter. I'll send her something, see what she says.
All right. Well, I have one more comment, and it's from Ned Raggett. He's written a lot for All Music,
Right.
and he wrote a great article.
He's the guy who really, really loves the swing of things.
Yes, he did an entire blog post just on that song, but then he also did a blog post on the album itself, and here is what he says about We're Looking for the Whales. He says, I want to assume that the title of We're Looking for the Whales is the result of the band not having English as a first language, but then again, perhaps that's just Anglo-centric. I'll take the flutes as whale song and soft synth beat shuffle, starting it all off over a lot of other hoo-ha out there.
Hoo-ha.
Yeah, I like that. Hoo-ha.
So he likes the song over a lot of what else is available to him.
Yes.
Is what he's saying.
Yeah, so it's maybe not his favorite, but he's like, yeah, I'd pick it over some other stuff. So and I think I would feel the same way. There's a lot of other things I would rather not listen to compared to this song.
Yeah, I would definitely rather listen to this over October.
Yeah, me too. Sorry,
Shame.
everyone that
Yeah.
likes that song. All right, so we've got some kind of average-ish reviews for this song or comments on this song.
Yeah, and before you write us, the Aha fans out there just say, I'm going to hit stop on this because these two are already bad-mouthing the song too much. Don't do that because, like I said, I do have good things to say about this song.
Okay.
I'm just kind of front-loading it with
The negativity.
some negativity.
Well,
and-
boy, it could be a lot worse, really.
So, Sarah, I know that you have that interesting Aha book that goes into a lot of details
Yes.
for each song. Online, there's not much, as you could imagine, there's not much online about We're Looking for the Whales in terms of the story of the song or
Right.
anything. So I'm hoping that you found some interesting
Yeah.
facts in your book.
Yes, I did. In that book, down to the tracks that I've been referring to very heavily for these episodes. Thank you again for that book. The greatest thing that, they break each song down, have a little snippet, a little blurb for each song. And they often start off with a quote or something. The section on We're Looking for the Whales starts off with this following quote. Well, Spock, thanks to your restored memory and a little bit of luck, we are in the streets of San Francisco looking for a pair of humpback whales.
Star Trek 4, the Voyage Home.
Yeah.
That's my favorite Star Trek movie.
Yeah, it's a good one. That was my really bad impression of William Shatner. But yeah, the author goes on to say, We're Looking for the Whales had, of course, not been written to tie in with the November release of a new Star Trek film. How crazy is it that there's a song called We're Looking for the Whales? Because that's a really crazy title for a song anyway.
Definitely.
And then soon after that song was released on the album, a movie came out where people were doing exactly that, looking for the whales. I mean, wow. If only they'd known about that song when they were making the movie, they could have put it in there.
Hey, that would have been such a good tie-in for all.
Yeah, right, yeah. Of course, that's not what happened. And when the author says this
Luckily, because the James Bond people would have said, oh, no, we're not going to go with Aha because they just released that really bad song in the Star Trek movie.
Right. Yeah. The author says, no, this was not a tie-in. And they said the soundtrack work would come later. So
very true.
As it did. So yeah, it probably was a better choice not to put this song in the movie because maybe they wouldn't have gotten the James Bond
Yep.
song.
I suspect they wouldn't have.
Yeah, but the origin of this song go way back. Much like a lot of the songs we've talked about on this album, they've had a pretty good stable of material to work with because they were writing songs for years before they formed this band. And so this is one of those that came from the Bridges period.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. I
Yeah.
did not know that.
So Magna wrote the melody, and on an early version of the song, Paul was playing bass guitar. So that's kind of cool. And Magna says he was particularly proud of having written this song, especially the change from the major verse to the minor chorus. He thought that was really quite an accomplishment. But he says, as usual, he had no lyrics for it. So he turned to Paul for the lyrics. So they had this song from back, before they even formed Aha. And then in 1982, the end of 1982, when they got Morton back, he was in Soldier Blue for a while. And then they were like, yeah, we want to form a band with you. And they all got together. They formed the band. They still didn't have a name yet, but they went to the town of, Narnes. It's hard to say. It's Norwegian, of course. But it's a town outside of Oslo where they were recording a demo tape. And one of the songs that they recorded at the time was We're Looking for the Whales. So this was also on the demos from 1982. It didn't make that first album, but they felt that it had potential and they kept it around. They decided later on that they were going to work on it as they were working on Scoundrel Days. And so here we have the final version on the album.
Does the book say if the lyrics that Paul wrote back in the old days for Bridges, are those the same lyrics that they went with for the Aha
No,
version?
they're a little bit different. The recording from the Narnis session, there were some different words. I did not write those down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I noticed on the Scoundrel Days double disc reissue from 2010, it has a demo version, which I imagine is a more recent demo than the pre-Hunting High and Low demo.
Yeah.
And that has an additional verse in it.
Yeah.
I believe as well. It's missing the middle 8 and it has an extra verse.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so they played this song a lot in the early days, and then they retired it. They had a lot of other things they'd rather play instead. But then it came back out of retirement during their farewell tour, that first farewell tour in 2010. And I guess it got a lot of joy and love. And then Morton, after they finished that and they thought they were done with the band, Morton went out on solo tours and he was playing it on his own. And he said, yeah, and how about this? He said at one of the shows, I think it was the Berlin show, he said, there's one particular song which has a special importance for me because this is the first song as a demo that Paul, Magna, and I did together in the early days, and we were waiting for something that actually sounded good, and this one did. Yeah, so apparently he's pretty fond of it. It has a kind of a sentimental place in his heart, and yeah, he was playing it on his own.
Yeah, I was really shocked to find that Aha was still playing this on their 2016 like Cast and Steel tour, but I'm even more shocked to hear that Morton broke it out on a solo tour, like of all the Aha songs to
I
break
know.
out. But I guess if this is the first, I mean, his story makes sense. If this is the first time he recorded a demo with the guys, then it's going to have a special place in his heart. But there are so many better songs.
Yeah, it's surprising, it's like, wow, okay. So that's the history of the song. I do like that they have so many old songs that they kind of, worked on and polished up for the album. But I got to say, I'm not sure how well they polished this one.
Yeah, well, let's talk about this song.
Yeah.
Much like the album that preceded this album, Hunting High and Low, side 2, track 2 is where things, for me at least, start to turn a bit average. On Hunting High and Low, that's where you get up to And You Tell Me.
Yeah.
Which is a fine song. It's fine.
It's fine. Yeah.
I'm sure it's no one's favorite Aha song.
I would bet that is true.
And I get that same vibe from this track. Like, it's a fine song.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get up to skip it.
Right.
But, it's
But you're not going to also get up to put it back on at, when it's done. You're not going to start it over again.
Yeah, and I'm not going to get a tattoo that says I'm looking for the whales.
No, you're not a marine biologist.
The weird thing is they're using ingredients in the song that I love. If you break this down on it, like in a recipe,
a
recipe for the song, it all sounds really good to me. Nice synth sounds, funky bass lines. There's some really nice kind of funky bass bits in here. Groovy percussion, quality Morton vocals, which is a given more or less.
Yeah.
But the finished product just does not strike my fancy like almost everything that has come so far on this album.
Okay. The album version is good, but I think it's a little too muddled and generic in sound. They kind of smeared everything together and didn't give a lot of points of interest for it. Where I find more points of interest and more textures and things is in the demo.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I'm not to this point on my notes, but
Okay.
if I scroll all the way down to the bottom of my notes, I have a huge section on why I like the demo more than this finished song.
Okay.
How I would much rather listen to it, and I think it's far more successful
Oh, wow. Okay.
than the finished version. Is that what you're thinking?
Well, not quite as strongly as you.
Restlessness is in our genes. Time won't wear it all. Born into this world with our eyes wide open. Girl, we're looking for a little bewildered. Girl, we're looking for a little bewildered. Girl, we're looking.
I would say that the demo is pretty strong. And I really like the little flute parts and that synth part that kind of goes up the scale. Do-do-do-do-do.
Yeah, that synth part is awesome. Like, that's the thing that's sort of in the background of the verses. And it almost, I wrote it as like, it's like an off-kilter synth sound because it's not, it doesn't sound like music notes on a piano. It almost sounds like something from like Construction Time again, like just strange sounds. Is that the part you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the way that sounds and how it just pops in behind the vocals especially in the verse and occasionally in the chorus.
Right. And it sounds good. I don't think it detracts from the song or distracts you from the rest of the song. We've talked many times about other songs that have nice little layers and just little, points of interest throughout the song. And I think this is an example in this demo where we have that, and it really does help make the song better. I still think that the album version sounds fuller and more complete, but what they have done to make it fuller is just kind of filled it in with more smushy stuff. It's that's not a very good technical term, but it just is kind of very same,
I sort of get the feeling that they recorded like a basic track for this song. And then they said it's missing something, and then they went back into it and just added little bits. Like, they didn't look at it as a song overall, and what can we add to it to elevate this song? It was just, let's go back into it and fill some of the empty spaces with whatever strikes our fancy at the time.
Yeah, so like if you're talking more like a recipe again, instead of adding more spices to it. They just added more like flour and sugar, right? It's some of the basic ingredients that were already there. They just kind of filled it in with that, You're making more of the same thing instead of adding something to make it different.
I like the drums on the demo in the chorus better than I like the drums in the real version.
Okay.
And they are very simple, kind of just incessant
these
pattern.
are not live drums like we've had from some of the other songs.
But I just like the sound of it. I like that very industrial, almost industrial. I'm going to use that word, almost industrial synth sound that you hear behind the vocals. I think that is what really sells me on this demo.
Yeah.
I like that flute kind of sound.
Yes. The little trill. Yeah.
They do get that effect to it, like, when you're playing a flute and you kind of really quickly move and cover and move the hole on the flute. But that sounds really nice. And the thing that I like the best is, as I mentioned, we lose that middle 8.
Okay.
And I really don't like that middle 8. And it's not any fault of theirs other than the fact that they wrote the lyrics. Because the reason I don't like it is, it's not a musical reason. It's a totally personal reason. I hate the lyric, I see angels beached outside your door. Because the word beached carries such awful imagery with it. Like, when you hear about something being beached, it's a tragedy.
Yeah.
It's like this majestic aquatic creature that has, whose environment has probably been so screwed up by the crap that we throw into the ocean that its senses just didn't function and it didn't know what to do. And as a result, it ends up dying.
Yeah.
And I hate I hate seeing that kind of thing. When you use that word beached, there's no other image that you...
Yeah, the only thing you conjure up in your brain is exactly what you're describing, something tragic and sad.
And that's so unpleasant to me that when I hear that, I just really dislike it. Okay. And so when I heard the demo and it didn't have it, I really said, "Oh, this is much better."
Whatever the heck he's saying here, I like this better than the other version. I understand that these words, I get that maybe Magna is not very comfortable or confident as a lyricist, and I know that Paul is like very creative and artistic and esoteric and everything, but these lyrics seem to just not make any sense to me. They don't seem to fit together in any logical way, and maybe that's okay. We've talked about that before, but in this case, it just seems like a word salad. It's just so very disparate, and I can't figure out what kind of a emotion or image other than that one they're trying to send us here. What are we supposed to get from this?
Yeah, word salad is a great term for it. Nowhere in the song is that more obvious than that first 2 lines.
Oh, exactly. I have it
1
here.
left low, left 2 who left high.
Yeah.
They seem so hard to find. 3 came twice, took once time to search.
It's hard to even say.
It is. It's like a novelty. It's just a novelty to sort of have your lyrics go 1, 2, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
And it's mathematically clever, but it does not prompt the listener to connect with the lyrical content whatsoever.
Exactly.
It's distracting.
Yes.
That whole first verse is a wash because it's meaningless to me.
Yeah. You can't even pull some kind of meaning from it because, to me, like, I don't know what to do with that information that they're spouting out to me in these numbers.
Right. Now, the whole song isn't like that. Like, we get a verse in here, restlessness is in our genes, time won't wear it off, born into this world with our eyes wide open.
Yes, that's lovely.
I like
that a lot. That makes
poetic.
sense.
It says something about the human condition, or at least this human's condition, the speaker. And I'm sure most people like us can understand that,
Yeah.
The speaker is born with a wariness of the world and inability to be satisfied or to settle down, and this is not changing as they age. Like,
okay.
I love it. I love it. But the rest of the lyrics, then, I just can't connect to.
Yeah. And I don't understand why they're going from looking for a girl and then they're all of a sudden looking for whales. I don't know why. Like I said, I'm a little bewildered girl because I don't get it.
Because I like these guys so much,
I'm
giving them the benefit of the doubt, and I'm assuming that this means something to Paul.
I hope so.
But to me, it is impenetrable.
Yeah.
And a lot of it I find distracting. And to a certain extent, I think that the lyrics are the main problem that prevent me from fully enjoying this song.
There's not a story to be told. There's not a feeling or, like you said, emotion to get out of it, except in a couple places. And it just is not cohesive. Take On Me. There's a story there. I can follow those lines along, and I get what's happening there, and I can relate to that. And here, No. Even October has more meaningful and understandable lyrics than.
Oh yeah,
than
the lyrics to October are fine.
Yeah, like that's
Yeah.
it's like very clear and straightforward. But here it's just whoa. I'm out to sea.
Now, having said all that, this tune, this melody is catchy.
Yes.
After listening to this song a bit to get ready for the podcast, I was walking around singing the chorus for most of the day.
Oh, I know. The chorus is very catchy.
Mm-hmm. So I give them credit for creating something that worms its way into your brain, and I wish that they could have just made this song in its entirety a bit more worthwhile. It's not by any stretch of the imagination a bad song.
Right.
It's just an unremarkable song.
Yes.
As it exists.
And Magnus should be proud of the fact that, it's a little bit complex, because I'm sure this was, early on in his songwriting career.
Oh, yeah.
And,
if it was a Bridges song, then
right,
it definitely was.
Exactly. So, the change from major to minor, and that is cool, and should be an accomplishment. And I like how that sounds. It's a good sound. He did well with that. And the middle eight part musically is good. But it's lacking a few things.
I think you can tell, speaking of Mags and his early songwriting, you can tell that this song and the one before it, Cry Wolf, that we talked about, I think you can tell when you listen to those songs that they came from Mags as opposed to side one, which was real Paul heavy.
Yeah.
And Mags has grown quite a bit over the years as a songwriter, and now I think his tracks are usually just as strong as Paul's. And in the case of like the Lifelines album, I think Mags did most of the heavy lifting on that album. That was probably the first time I ever remember being disappointed in Paul's songwriting.
Oh.
But it was kind of offset by the fact that I was like, wow, Mags is doing a great job. Mags is a great songwriter at this point. But in 1986... And earlier, his songs were always more simple and lacked the epic feeling that Paul could produce.
Yeah.
And my evidence of that is compare Cry Wolf and Looking for the Whales. Compare that to Sun Always Shines on TV, Scoundrel Days, and The Soft Rains of April.
Right.
Those songs do have like an epic quality to sonic quality to them, and this song does not. So we had a number of people write to us when we talked about Cry Wolf. And they mentioned that, they didn't think it was one of their strong songs. It shouldn't have been a single. It was just kind of a mindless pop song. All the things that they were saying about Cry Wolf, I was not able to fully see with Cry Wolf, because I do think that's a really good single. But everything they said, I see about this song.
Okay.
So I would be interested, for the folks that wrote to us saying things about Cry Wolf like that, do you have the same problem with this tune?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, because I kind of agree with you. I think Cry Wolf is a stronger song, and I think it was definitely more worthy of being a single than this one.
Now, something we alluded to earlier was that they performed this on the 2016 tour.
Yeah.
And I had no idea until I was doing the research for the song. I was shocked to read on a website called northernsoul.uk. They were reviewing the 2016 concert, and they said, epic versions of Mother Nature Goes to Heaven and We're Looking for the Whales follow. The pacey drumming of Weinberg bringing the latter frenetically to a head that explodes into lush tranquility.
Oh, my.
And I was like, I must be forgetting how to use former and latter. Latter means it's the second one. So what? So they did mean to say that about Looking for the Whales? It's like they're trying to tell me that Looking for the Whales explodes into lush tranquility. I was like,
wow,
you gotta be kidding me. And this all happened after I got over my initial complete shock that they were still
even
doing
playing
this song
it,
in 2016, because you have the entire AHA catalog to choose from, and this is the song you're plucking out. So that blew my mind. I found someone on YouTube who posted a video. It was just like a cell phone video, so the sound's not great. Maybe I'll try to put a little clip in the episode.
Okay.
If I can get it to sound a little better. But you know what? The review is right.
Really?
Yes. This more recent live interpretation of the track is much, much easier to enjoy. It does get pretty epic near the end.
Really?
With all the live musicians on stage. It's going along up until the middle 8, and it's as faithful as they are to their songs now live, because Paul's on guitar for most songs.
Yeah.
And they have another guitarist on stage.
Yeah.
So it's a live band. So it sounds like you might expect it to sound by AHA in the 2000s. But once they get to the end of that middle 8, Paul goes over to the other guitarist. They kind of jam on like a guitar solo. And from that point on, we get one more chorus. And then the last minute is just kind of like a jam session with everybody on stage, just kind of flexing their muscles. Like, hey, check me out. I can do this. And the writer of that review is right. It's just a really impressive bit of music to listen to. And I'm sure seeing it live was even more effective.
Looking for
So if you have not checked out the 2016 live version,
And
there's a live version on the reissue.
Okay.
And somebody wrote to us yesterday saying that they thought that was the definitive live version of the song. And I would say check out the even later one because it's even better. So
I
thought
have
it
to
was
check
really
it
good.
out. I'm very intrigued.
That's something that's missing. When you see that live, you notice what is missing from the studio version. The studio version does make attempts to mix things up a bit in terms of the bass or the percussion. That's kind of what I was alluding to when I said like they go in and season it with little tricks and little sections to try to fill it and make it sound like it's more than what it really is. But the song in the studio mix never develops a sense of urgency or seems to grow in stature through these little tricks.
Yeah.
And it's all very much a sameness as you're listening to it. And so that song earns like a "this is fine" comment from me the first few seconds into it, and then never does anything for me to change my ranking.
Yeah.
But hearing this version, the song can be much better than "This Is Fine." And I'm glad that they eventually evolved into the musicians that were talented enough to unlock the potential in a song that seems relatively simple in 1986 when you hear it on the studio album.
All right.
Before we get going, we do have some voicemails. Folks were kind enough to call in after our last 2 episodes. We have 2 calls about Aha and 1 call about Depeche Mode, the Violator episode.
Oh, wow.
So let's do that one first. Let's do the Depeche Mode first.
Okay, a little throwback, huh?
Yeah. So this is from our friend Michael Chesky.
Okay.
From the Dorian Gray band that we talked about. We used one of their songs in our trivia challenge.
Okay.
And this is what Mike had to say about Violator. Sarah, put your seatbelt on.
Okay.
Because Mike is about to, in a very Stan Lee, if anyone knows Stan Lee, I'm sure everybody knows Stan Lee these days with the Marvel movies, but in the old days, in the 70s Marvel comics, Stan was a big fan of alliteration. And he would fill his bullpen bulletins column in each Marvel comic with tons of alliteration. Mike seems to have been inspired by Stan Lee. He's flinging the alliteration around here
all
on this
right.
call, so prepare yourself.
I'm bracing myself.
All right, here we go.
Yo, Brian and Sarah, it's Mikey the K from the Dorian Multiverse. Was just blown away by the Halo book episode with authors Kevin and David from the UK. The Cape Cod vacation must have done you both some good, revitalizing your podcasting passion, because this work should be the standard by all other podcasts are measured. Chock full of details that many a Depeche Mode Uber fan will voraciously devour, and always leave them wanting more. Please keep them coming. And by the way, for me, number 1, Violator. Number 2, Delta Machine. Number 3, Martin Gore. Number 4, Enjoy the Silence. See you soon. Cheers.
Okay, so his little rankings at the end, he was actually answering the rapid fire questions that we had in the episode. Number 1 was, what was your favorite Depeche Mode album? Number 2 was, what was your least favorite Depeche Mode album? Number 3 was, whose solo output do you like the best? And number 4 was, what's your favorite video, I believe.
Okay.
So that's why he said Violator, Delta Machine, Martin Gore, and Enjoy the Silence.
I was like, that's an interesting ranking of something.
I don't think anyone has ever ranked Delta Machine as their number 2 Depeche Mode album. So I knew right away that I couldn't remember what the questions were, but I was like, well, you can't be ranking albums.
No.
Sarah, believe it or not, I did not. When we ran into him at the concert the other month, I didn't slip him any money to be so complimentary to us.
Okay. All right. Wow. Just imagine if you had. No, those were very, very kind words. And Mike, we thank you so much for them and everything else that you said, and for just taking the time to send us a voicemail. It's very much appreciated.
Yep, we hope things are going well. I know he had some new job opportunities the past month, so I hope things are going well with that. Haven't talked to him in a little bit.
Okay.
I hope things are good. Okay, and then, Sarah, if you recall, each episode of the Aha series so far, we've heard from James from London.
Oh, yes, indeed.
And last time we heard from James, he just kind of offhandedly mentioned that, like, in his theoretical British top 10 charts of the 80s, he would have had Manhattan Skyline at number 1 for 7 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
And when we played his thing, his voicemail, we were like, whoa, you can't tell us. You can't mention that without saying what song would have finally knocked it off the charts. So here's a call from...
So setting that up.
Yep, James from London.
Hi, Brian and Sarah. It's James from London, back again on the old speak pipe. Just responding to Brian's challenge on the last pod of the single that knocked off Manhattan Skyline off my hypothetical dictatorial charts. I looked at the UK charts 8 weeks thereafter, and there were 2 main candidates. So there was If You Let Me Stay by Terence Trent D'Arby and Big Love by Fleetwood Mac. Terence Trent D'Arby just about shades it there. And I just wondered if you'd heard his debut album, because it's my favourite album from 1987. Incidentally, Manhattan Skyline was in my top 50 tracks of all time that I put together a few years ago. when I was in a pop music quiz team. And the rest of the team, they also put together their top 50s, and we had a random playback party on Spotify, which I can tell you was a great way to spend an evening. I recommend it. So my question to you both is, have you put together your own top 50 or top 100 tracks of all time? I'd be really interested to hear. On the Crywolf video, my own take on it is that it's Morton's living his own boy's adventure tale from the Hunting High and Low album. I mean, it's a bit odd, but at least it's not Touchy or You Are the One, which are, let's face it, 100% Edam cheese. Anyway, all the best, and can't wait for your next pod.
I usually try to maintain radio silence during those voicemails so people can't hear us, but that cracked me up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100% Edam cheese.
Those Stay on These Roads videos are relatively cheesy.
They are quite so, yes.
So, Sarah, have you ever put together like a top 20 of all time or top 50 of all time list?
No, I don't think so. I think we've had to do top 10s, actually. We did that for some other podcast at one time. Do you remember?
Yeah, I thought we did like a top 10 pop albums.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so no, I haven't done a top 50 tracks. I should do that, though. That sounds like fun.
When we got our jukebox,
Yeah.
I put together, inadvertently, the top 3 pop songs, I guess, because I had a top 3 list of songs that I needed to get for the jukebox.
That's right.
So I had that, I guess. But yeah, I've never done like an extensive chart. I guess that would be fun, but it would be so difficult.
Yeah, but 50 to me sounds doable compared to 10. 10 is just always so brutal. Any 10, top 10 of something that I have any kind of real love for, like top 10 Queen songs, top 10 David Bowie songs, top 10 Depeche Mode songs. Oh my gosh. But top 50 songs of everything, I don't know. At this point in time, I'm saying that sounds easier. I'm sure as I would get to it, I'd say, oh my gosh, this is terrible. But I'd be up for it. I'd try it.
And I think you have heard that Terrence Trent D'Arby
Oh,
CD.
yeah. I actually had that on cassette. I did. I had that. I think I got it somehow free from the radio station. I had a promo copy of it. And I think I liked it pretty well back in the day. I could not tell you the last time I heard any of it, except for Wishing Well. I think I've heard that on the Sirius XM radio.
Yeah. I'm not familiar with that album at all. I only know that one song. But I am a huge fan of the Fleetwood Mac song Big Love.
You do like that one.
That's one I had on a 7-inch single when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And I was not by any stretch of the imagination a Fleetwood Mac fan, but I love that song.
Yeah.
So I'm really disappointed to hear that it couldn't top the charts on your theoretical countdown. It probably peaked out at number 2, which breaks my heart. Oh. So, James, you made me sad.
Oh, no.
But you made me happy when you sent the voicemail, so it all evens out.
That's right. Yeah. Thank you again, James, for chiming in on this discussion of AHA and other topics, too. It's been great.
Indeed. And then, Sarah, our last voicemail is from CK1, one of the co-hosts of the 80 of the 80s podcast.
Ooh.
Who is a real nice guy who wrote to us last month. And he starts his call here with a truly tragic bit of AHA information that he heard last month or the month before, but it's just par for the course here in the U.S. So you'll see what I'm talking about here. You'll shake your head in disgust when you hear this story.
Hi, Brian and Sarah. This is CK1 from the 80 of the 80s podcast. Well, I was just listening to my local radio this morning, and I heard the announcer say, quote, "Happy birthday to the singer of AHA. You may not know his name, Morton Market." Yes, he did say Market. "He turned 63. Take on Me. Well, that was a good song. And after that, they did nothing." End quote. Oh, of course, I found this very irritating. See, I'd put Scoundrel Days up there as one of the most perfect albums of the decade, alongside Duran Duran's Rio, Genesis Duke, Simple Minds' New Gold Dream, and New Order's Technique. Gee, it looks like you have some other podcasts, some other episodes that I should listen to. But for Scoundrel Days, I do agree that there are some tracks on side B that I'll only give a 4 out of 5, like maybe and Cry Wolf. They could have used some stronger melodies in the chorus. But I'd rate everything else a 5 out of 5, including hidden gems like October and Weight of the World. Actually, come to think of it, I'd give the title track a 6 out of 5. And that's why I appreciate your podcast. I admire your exhaustive level of research. For people like us, music is like a religion. So let's keep fighting against ignorance, like what I just heard on the radio. Spread the gospel.
Here. That is the duty of podcasts like like this one and yours to spread the word of the 80s and make sure people remain aware of how great some of this music was.
That's right. Yeah.
CK1, thanks for sending that great voicemail. We've been so busy with the Giddy Carousel of Pop and being sick that I haven't yet listened to any episodes of CK's podcast, but I have it bookmarked and I'm going to check it out.
Okay.
And there are a lot of good topics. He covers bands like what we cover, and then also some more like top 40 things like Hall & Oates Out of Touch, which is my favorite Hall & Oates song.
Oh, nice.
I think that's one that he's getting ready to do. He does that podcast. You might be surprised by this, Sarah. He does the podcast with his wife.
Hey, all right. I like that.
Yep. So we will definitely have to check it out. It's the 80 of the 80s podcast.
Cool.
And check that out and see what you think. Tragic that those DJs on air said that Aha never did anything other than take on me.
And got his name wrong. How hard is that to look it up? Morton Market. Jeez.
It's terrible.
That is. I'm disgusted.
All right. Well, on that note, we are going to get out of here.
Okay.
Always leave people on a bad note, Sarah.
Unlike Aha ending on a high note, their 2010 tour farewell tour name.
Yeah, exactly. So thanks for listening. Thanks for going out and subscribing to the Giddy Carousel of Pop and supporting Cy and Gavin, who are two great guys. And don't forget to follow us as well if you haven't already on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're on all those platforms to varying degrees. And, we're not going to fill your feed with nonsense every day, but when we do post something, you can be sure it's pretty awesome.
Yep, that's right. High quality content guaranteed. And you heard a lot of voicemails, and if you want to leave us one, we'd love to hear it, and we would love to play it on the show. So please do so at either 724-490-8324, or you can go to speakpipe.com/permrecordpod and leave us one there.
It's always a treat when we get something on the voicemail lines because it's always exciting to me to have someone's voice on here other than us. I like being able to feature other people. So that would be awesome. And finally, if you have the time and the inclination and you want to help the podcast out by leaving a review in the Apple Podcast Store, we would appreciate that. You can go in and just click the ratings or even type something else up or type something up to give your thoughts on the show. It helps us in the search engine results and gets the show noticed more so than it has been recently because it's been a few months since our last review.
Yep, so every little bit helps, and we do appreciate that as well.
Guys, we will see you again, guys and girls. I always use guys, Sarah.
I
guys,
do.
Everybody. We will see you all next time as we wrap up Aha Scoundrel Days, and I think that's going to be episode 149 if I am right in my calculations.
Okay. Sarah. Oh man, do we have to do something special for 150?
Yeah, that's one of those fake anniversaries.
Yeah.
It's not really a time anniversary, but it's a number, 100, 150.
Yeah.
So we'll have to do something special.
Oh boy.
But first, we can't get too far ahead of ourselves. We've got to finish Scoundrel Days.
We really do. We really do.
So let's go start working on that right now.
Okay.
See you, everybody.
Life seems far